What I'm seeing in the state of Israel right now is a kind of insanity. It's a collective psychosis. And when people feel backed into a corner, especially people who feel persecuted or perceive themselves to be persecuted, which unfortunately I think the Israeli collective identity is very prone to, I think that they will take everyone down with them if that's what it comes to. I don't think that they will hesitate.
Ms. Loewenstein, how do you think that this scenario is likely to take place, being that the United States is involved in 2 wars right now? Do you see it as a likely scenario?
I hope not, but I think that it is possible, and part of the reason has to do with domestic issues in the United States. Obama, the Democrats are not doing very well, and upcoming midterm elections will dictate a lot of what he decides to do. I also think that he's, right now, he's on the defensive. He's been told, or he's being told by the Republican Party and by other opposition groups like the Tea Party that he's not being tough enough. And in fact, what I see is that he's trying to outdo the Bush administration in what they, as if that wasn't bad enough. Obama has a reputation for being a very progressive president, and yet if we look carefully at his policies in the Middle East, and particularly with Iran and with Israel, what we see is a continuation of the same old, very monolithic foreign policy of the United States, and in fact, I'm afraid, an effort to show how tough he can be.
Ms. Loewenstein, the Saban Center, a pro-Israeli think tank in Washington, ran a simulated war game recently involving an Israeli hit on Iran and Hezbollah. Also, the U.S. hesitantly gets involved and sends massive firepower and manpower to the Middle East, and in 8 days the simulation finished. Do you think that the United States and Israel really believes that if they were to get involved in this region, that it would be that simple? What's your take on this simulated war game?
First of all, it's unlikely that there will be an attack on Iran. At the same time, I think we have to remember that there is an increasing buildup in the Indian Ocean on Diego Garcia, that all kinds of military warships and weapons are being sent to U.S. military bases in the region. There is a great deal of talk about an Israeli strike, which, by the way, could not take place without the approval of the Americans. Make no mistake about that. There is simply no way the Israelis could carry out an attack against Iran without U.S. approval. They have to go through U.S. airspace. Saudi Arabia has allegedly guaranteed the use of a northern corridor if they were to attack Iran. So, I mean, will it happen? Will it not happen? I'm inclined to think no, because I think there are still some people in Washington that are rational enough to realize what a catastrophe that would be. At the same time, Israel feels backed into a corner. We saw this with the incident of the flotilla and the Mavi Marmara. And what I'm seeing in the state of Israel right now is a kind of insanity. It's a collective psychosis. And when people feel backed into a corner, especially people who feel persecuted or perceive themselves to be persecuted, which unfortunately I think the Israeli collective identity is very prone to, I think that they will take everyone down with them if that's what it comes to. I don't think that they will hesitate. Well, I mean, another point that I think is being overlooked is that, at least in the United States, there is a common perception, and also in Israel to a much greater extent, there is a perception that somehow Obama is critical of Israel, is sort of an adversary of Israel, and this is completely mistaken. Israel and the United States are as close as they have ever been. I don't see that changing in the near or distant future. In fact, On the contrary, and I think any kind of attack on Iran would be very concerted. I think that they would be working together. I hope that it doesn't happen, but I don't think that's reason for us to say it won't, and that the WikiLeaks scandal, or whatever you want to call it, is going to prevent this kind of thing from happening. I think that there are enough people in the United States government, in the Pentagon, in the National Security Council, and of course in Israel, in high political and military circles, who are irrational enough to carry out strikes against Iran, partly to take the attention off much more important issues, certainly, or the main issue, which is simply that the United States fears the influence and the growth of Iran regionally. It's not afraid of Iranian military capabilities.
What about that, Mr. Rowland? How likely do you think that, you had said because it's an election year that it's not likely to happen, but what about what Ms. Loewenstein said? Do you not think that a lot of this is related? Iran's President Ahmadinejad said a lot of it is all related to Iran's advancement and trying to stop Iran, not anything related to the nuclear issue. Now, you said that the United States, basically Americans now are busied with something else, but do you not think that...
I think it's in an election year that the president and his allies, especially Israel, need to carry out some kind of strike or act that's going to unify the American public behind them. I hope that it is not an attack on Iran, but in fact, I think this is a perfect example of when such an insane step is more likely, not less likely. Obama is very worried about his ratings in the polls. The Republicans may regain control of the House and the Senate. I mean, it's possible because the Democrats are losing a lot of support. And the kind of saber rattling and gearing up for war that is taking place, yes, it is partly psychological and deliberately so, but I don't think that it is wise to rule out the possibility of a strike against Iran. I think we have to be prepared for that. And just one last thing, especially if you look closely at the buildup of U.S. and Israeli military aircraft, naval ships, and bombs in places like Diego Garcia, it's frightening. This is not happening by chance. There's something being planned. I don't know why or when it will happen. I do know why, but I don't know when it's going to happen. But we have to be paying very close attention to it. The WikiLeaks thing is something that the United States administration is going to want to divert people's attention away from. And nothing would unify people more than an attack on the crazy regime of Ahmadinejad that wants to wipe Israel off the map. You know, a lot of people don't hear the media in the United States the way I do every single day. It's completely, the mainstream media is completely servile to power. There isn't any dissent, really, in the mainstream. And it would like to play up some episode of American strength and machismo backed by Israel that would win a great deal.